What's up? It's Chris, the Drone Geek, and welcome to another episode of Let's Learn with the Drone Geek. As promised, today we are jumping into Adobe Premiere. We're going to start with a very basic keyframe effect that I use pretty consistently in most of my videos, especially when I'm transitioning from one segment to the next. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Okay, so after some reflection, I realized that it's maybe a little bit stupid and redundant of me to continually open the program we're going to be discussing at the beginning of every single one of these videos. It's a waste of your time, it's a waste of my time, and at this point, I think it's sort of on you to understand what program we're talking about and which one you need to open to follow along. So that one's your responsibility from here forward. But let's go ahead and jump right into the lesson for today. And to better define it from what I talked about in the intro of this video, what we're doing is getting basic animation and motion for images and objects within your project on Adobe Premiere using keyframing. So this is going to be very, very basic animation and movement that we're programming into Adobe Premiere Pro using the keyframing technique. I do this in almost every single one of my videos at least once, and more recently, I do it at the end of every episode of Let's Talk Drones when I sort of slap you away from the camera, and that's exactly what we're gonna be doing in this particular project. Now, this might look familiar if you follow along with my channel. This is actually the video I just published a few days ago talking about the snafu with AirMap's Twitter. If you'd like to watch that video, you can go ahead and click on the little box that just popped up in the upper right-hand corner. But if you wanna learn about keyframing, stick around because we've got lots of information to cover. So to start, we need to identify the area in our timeline that we want to alter with animation and movement using the keyframing technique. In this particular instance, we're gonna find the point where my hand would theoretically make contact with your face as you're watching this episode of Let's Talk Drones. So we're gonna go ahead and scroll through and find that point.
Am out of here.
So we're really close right there. Now let's go ahead and advance it. That might be the frame we stick with. That's the frame that we want. Okay, so from this point on, what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in on this section of the clip, and you see that we don't have very long to work with here. It's going to be a very quick motion, but it's going to give us the effect that we want. So the first thing we're going to do is split this clip. I find that while it's not necessary, it makes it easier for me to focus on where the keyframes are being placed when I really segment this down to one separate clip that will have that animation. So we're gonna go ahead and select this clip, and then on Windows, you'll hit Control K, and on Mac, you'll hit Command K. So we'll do that, and you'll see that we've now separated this part of the clip from this part of the clip. This is its own separate clip now. Go ahead and put that right up against it again, and we'll zoom in just a little bit more. And if you need to move it over, you can do that by doing that. Actually, I zoom out a little bit, maybe we were a little extreme. Okay, that's perfect. So we'll start here at the very beginning of the clip. And you can use your arrow keys to go frame by frame through this section of the clip. So right about here where I sort of relax, let's go ahead right here. Right here where I relax is gonna be the end of our animation, and actually this clip is going to disappear completely. So everything after this is sort of irrelevant. We're gonna keep it there just so we have it to work with, but everything after this won't be seen by the end viewer. So we'll start here at the beginning of the clip again, where I'm flashing my hand across the front of the camera to mimic that slapping motion. And what we're gonna do is come over here to the effects control panel on the upper left-hand side. This could be in a different place on your Adobe Premiere Pro. I just have this set up pretty close to default, how it came out of the box, for lack of a better term, but I have moved some things around just slightly. It may be a little bit different throughout this. Just bear with me as I work my way through my setup and show you how to use these options. So the first thing we're gonna look at in this panel is motion. And the thing that we want to manipulate first is position, because what we're going to do is we're gonna have the frame slide to the right as I slap you from left to right. So we'll go ahead and we'll click this little stopwatch, and you'll see it pops up as toggle animation. We'll click that next to position, and then that adds our first keyframe. You'll know that you're on a keyframe because a little blue dot will pop up right here. And then to add other keyframes within Premiere, all you have to do is make a change to the values within the field that you're working, and that will add a keyframe as you move through the clip. So we start here in our default position at the very beginning of the clip, and we're going to move our cursor to the end or somewhere around the end of our animation. So right about here where I look like a dope, there you go, that's perfect. What we're gonna do is we're gonna move this slider all the way over, and you can do that one of two ways. You can either do what I just did and click and hold and grab and then just slide your mouse to the right, and that will change that value, make it greater, and move the image to the right in the frame as you see there. Or you can go ahead and do this manually. Now this takes a little bit more refining, trial and error, because you're not going to know the exact value you need unless you sort of play around with it by sliding this image physically off the frame. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna make this a very extreme value. The more extreme that value change is, the quicker that animation is going to be. So we'll go ahead and preview what we just did. Hopefully it works and it doesn't get too buffery through this playthrough. Okay, so you'll see that we got that motion that we wanted, but it maybe wasn't as quick as we'd like it to be, and it maybe was a little bit too slow. So let's go ahead and let's undo what we just did. So you'll see that we've undid that. And let's undo the initial keyframe. So we'll come back to the beginning here, and let's go ahead and add our first keyframe by toggling animation on position. And instead of coming all the way over here, let's go ahead and back this up to the true peak of my slap, or at least the follow through of my slap, which is right about here. And let's go ahead and really exaggerate that movement. So let's see what that looks like.
Tremendously. Until next time, guys, I'm Chris, the Drone Geek, and I am out of here.
That was much better. And we're going to add a sound effect here that will really emphasize that slap and make sure that you know that you just got hit by the Drone Geek. But let's say we wanted to do a little bit more pizzazz to this movement. Maybe this slide across isn't quite what we want. It's not really delivering the oomph that we want either. So what we can do is add another type of movement in rotation and make it sort of flip off the screen. So we'll do the same thing. We'll come over to the effects panel. We'll click toggle animation next to rotation. And then we'll come back over to where our keyframe is, and you can tell where we had it before by coming up here, and in that position menu you can see that the dot turned blue. That indicates that there is a keyframe here for that other movement, that drastic change for in position. So we'll go ahead and at the same time we'll bring the rotation up to really high extreme, 2 times 11 degrees. Let's see what that does for us. There we go. See, that's a very drastic, deliberate movement by the frame, and that really delivers the oomph that we want with our slaps. Let's go ahead and see the last part of that again.
Geek, and I am out of here.
Okay, so we've got our basic animation down. Now, let's emphasize this with a sound effect. That's gonna be really important. And for any beginning video editors out there, first off, you're not far behind me. I've been editing videos for a while, but I'm really just starting to get good at it. So just keep in mind that when you are editing your projects, your video projects, sound is just as important as the visual images in your video. Without sound to emphasize your video, it just doesn't pack quite a punch, or in this case, a slap. So let's go ahead and get into my File Explorer here on Windows. And you'll see here that I use the YouTube downloader by Vidly. And we'll go to my drive and video elements. And let's go to sound effects. And the slap is what we're looking for. So we'll go ahead and bring the slap down here. We'll get back into Adobe Premiere. And we'll need to edit this just by clicking and dragging this part down. We're gonna sort of line the peak of the slap sound up with where the slap is delivered. So I would say right here, we want to make sure that our slap, the peak is right about there. That's gonna be timed out beautifully. So let's go ahead and preview the finished product.
Until next time, guys, I'm Chris, the Drone Geek, and I am out of here.
There you go. We just delivered a slap that really sends the message that I reached through the camera and slapped you in the face to get you off my channel. Now, remember, we used very basic keyframing to get very, very basic animation and movement on the images in this video. When you're editing, also remember that sound is just as important as visual stimulation. So make sure your sound really helps to carry that message and deliver what you're trying to do. Most of the time when you use an animation, whether it's pre-rendered within Adobe Premiere or something you do manually through keyframing, that adding sounds to those animations helps to elevate the experience.
Until next time, guys, I'm Chris, the Drone Geek, and I am out of here. Until next time, guys, I'm Chris, the Drone Geek, and I am out of here. And there you have it. That's how you use basic keyframing in Adobe Premiere to get a movement effect on the images in your video. Until next time, I'm Chris, the Drone Geek, and I am out of here. Wait, this seems familiar.